We're live.
Okay, I have the great pleasure of having.
No pleasure.
Well, it's a great pleasure for me. I have the great pleasure of having Benjamin Dixon live on my humble channel to discuss a whole bunch of things. But first, let me give some context. I don't think any of us, well, definitely not me, I don't think any of us wanted this to elevate via social media to the point that it's elevated. And so I'm glad that I have a chance to speak with Benjamin.
I mean, dude, you tagged me in 30 tweets overnight. I woke up to 30 tweets. So if you didn't want this to escalate on social media, like, bruh, don't tag me in 30 tweets if you don't want it to escalate.
I have also been tagged on tweets. I have also been.
You tagged me out of the blue, but that's besides the point. We're here.
Okay, but okay. So here's the issue. Okay, I hope that after this discussion, you have a debate with Tim Black. That's my hope as well. But let's just focus right this second.
He spent 5 minutes of his show saying "fuck Ben Dixon," so I don't know.
Okay, maybe. So I think that the first question is this. You obviously don't think that Kaitlyn Johnstone wants a formal, complete alliance where the progressive movement adopts Islamophobia, homophobia, the immigration stance, all the things that we don't agree with the right. You don't think, you and I are both in agreement that Kaitlyn Johnstone does not want to align with the alt-right or right on policy positions and stances that we do not agree with. Are we in agreement on that?
Well, I reject the premise of your question, right? The premise of your question is that unless that's what she's asking for, then there's really nothing to discuss. Like, it's not a problem. She's not really asking us to have a complete alignment with them. And I reject that because the things that she wants to have an alignment with them over, that means that she's setting that above in terms of priority. That's a priority above all the things that they represent that is destructive to communities of color and margin. So whether or not, based on the premise of your question, whether or not it's going to be some holistic unity and now the alt left becomes all right, that's irrelevant. What is relevant is that these areas of agreement, those I believe her exact words, she said in her piece, it would be stupid for us to not collaborate with them in the areas that we agree. And so for me, it's like you're elevating that above the issues that are preeminent to people of color and marginalized communities.
Okay, I understand you gave the context of your vantage point. My simple question was, she does not want to align on the big grandiose issues that you, me, and Kaitlyn oppose. Is that correct?
Well, again, I'm not going to accept the premise of that question.
But she doesn't want to align with the racist or homophobic or sexist, or she doesn't want a border wall. She doesn't want, she definitely doesn't. I mean, that's the thing with Kaitlyn Johnstone's writing. It's anti-war as well. But the fact of the matter is, she does not want the racist things or the egregious things that are on the right that you and I oppose, correct?
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Twofold. Number one, well-spoken, she can write. Let her come and defend her own principles against me or against the people that she's blocked. She's blocked quite a few women of color, leftists, who've said the same thing that I've been saying. I've been saying it for 2 weeks.
Then there are women of color who have blocked women of color.
I'll toss it back to you. You can say what you want to say. She has enough wherewithal to be an interloper and intervene in American politics. Then let her speak for herself. Question.
But we're talking about ideology, Ben. We're talking about an idea.
You can get it in 1 second. I'm gonna finish this sentence. I reject the premise, but I'll use your question to point out that Kaitlyn Johnstone needs to be accountable. She wants to float this idea and be a thought leader on the progressive left. Then she should own up to it and speak to the people that she's blocked on Twitter and defend her decision, her point of view herself. I don't think that's for you and me to debate because she's not here and she hasn't blocked me.
Okay, first of all, an idea can flow through anyone's mind, white, black, Asian, Latino. It doesn't matter. If you're a human being, you can debate an idea.
Bidding of other people. She could fend for herself.
I'm not, but see, this is the issue. I'm not trying, like, you've accused me of trying to defend someone's honor. This is not like, I'm not some kind of knight or like chivalrous person. I just wanted to.
I don't know. I haven't seen Kaitlyn. I haven't seen Kaitlyn since you and Tim came in to save her.
But no, the issue is an idea that we disagree with, and ideas are there. There are no boundaries for ideas. So I don't. Whatever took place on Twitter between Kaitlyn and other people, or even Kaitlyn's writing, it's not only really about, this is not about Kaitlyn Johnstone. This is about an idea that Counterpunch, the Daily Banter, you, other people within Progressive Army have taken, and it's the idea that has been misrepresented. So literally nobody is putting any policy or value system on the left underneath working, quote unquote, with anyone on the right.
But they are, and I'll tell you how.
Let me ask you this question. If you could save a child, black, white, Latino, Asian, if you could save a child and that entailed working with Mike Cernovich on one issue, would you do it?
Is that the whole question?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a straw man. I don't deal with straw men. The reason I say that is because, number one, it's not about saving a child. It's about, I mean, really, quite literally, we're talking about someone who thinks that Black Lives Matter is akin to ISIS. So I really should turn and ask the question to you.
She doesn't believe that.
Hang on,
Kaitlyn Johnstone doesn't believe that.
I mean, I think there should be one ground rule. Let's have one ground rule that we try our best not to interrupt each other. And I'm sure I'm going to be guilty of it. I'll try to control it. All right. I should flip it on you. Because Mike Cernovich views Black Lives Matter as ISIS, wouldn't it behoove us to oppose him, because that is a direct threat to the lives of people of color?
Obviously that sentiment will not be furthered by anyone on the left. I wouldn't further that sentiment either. So obviously that sentiment is not bolstered by if Cernovich or anyone on the right says, hey, you know what? Let's not go to war with Russia. We don't need a third world war. I found out this story or this scoop. So let me ask you this, is retweeting, let's say Cernovich finds out that the Russian, well, we already know the Russian hacking is a bunch of baloney, but let's say he finds out some information that, I don't know, the NSA made something up. And let's say a person on the left retweets that. Are they guilty of a crime of retweeting Mike Cernovich?
I mean, again, straw man, but I'll answer that one because I have my own expectations of myself. I'm not going to put an expectation on you guys. But the standard that I hold myself to, there are quite a few people that I don't need any new enemies this week, so I won't call out their name. But there's quite a few people from, let's just say, the Hotep Black movement, the Hotep nationalist movement, that say every now and then they say something that is fucking brilliant, but I refuse to retweet them in my timeline because I don't want to be affiliated or associated with everything else they say that is dangerous, problematic, homophobic, xenophobic. I don't want that on my brand. I don't think that you have to live by my standards, but that's my standards.
Well, but my thing is, the original issue, that the ideological difference between you and myself, the big ideological difference is you on a segment, Ben, you said that progressives have to fight, and essentially you were talking about Kaitlyn Johnstone, and you said that she's just as much of an enemy, quote, political enemy, as conservatives or the alt-right. I took an ideological stance opposing that, because my disagreement with you on that is, where does it end? Is it only the paradigm of the Young Turks, Sam Cedar, David Pakman paradigm, where you have to go ahead and you can't disrespect or call out the DNC? Let's say if you want to talk about Black Lives Matter, the DNC said don't offer policy solutions to Black Lives Matter activists. I think that's a lot bigger and more egregious than a Cernovich tweet. But what I'm saying is this: where does it end? If you're calling for people to quote unquote fight, and you were referring to Kaitlyn Johnstone, where does that end? Because you were calling for people to fight when you don't even really, I don't even think you or I or anyone on social media know exactly what quote unquote work means. Is it a retweet? Is it perhaps collaborating on on some kind of research to, let's say, I don't know, indict Rick Snyder in Michigan for willingly poisoning the people of Flint? I don't know what the issue is that could coincide. It could be anti-war. Well, where does it end? If you're calling for, my question is this, if you're calling for people to fight Kaitlyn Johnstone because you disagree with her point, without even debating or discussing the point in some kind of legitimate manner, where does that kind of intimidation end?
Yes. You done?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't want to cut you off. One, I didn't even know who Kaitlyn Johnstone was at the time. I knew her work. I mean, I read a lot of articles. I have no idea who the individual is. So it wasn't directed towards Kaitlyn Johnstone, but it was absolutely directed towards her idea, now that I put the idea with the person. When I say fight, I mean, yeah, I mean, dude, this is just, we're just going to fundamentally disagree on this. And I find it fascinating that you all are offended that we are taking a stand and saying that we disagree with this. And what I've said on plenty of videos is, hey, this is just a parting of the ways. This is just two factions of progressivism, even though I will argue that you guys are not progressive if you embrace this. But these are, let's give it to you. Let's say you're progressive. These are two factions of progressivism that can't coexist, not together, because you said, where does it end? Well, it ends with white supremacy. It ends with xenophobia, homophobia. There's no quarter for fascists of any degree. Of any degree. So for me, it's like, fuck Mike Cernovich. I'm sorry, I'm at someone's home and I'm sure their kid heard me. I'm sorry, people. But go to hell, Mike Cernovich. Everything about you, everything that he stands for and represents, I don't want to be in. He retweeted me one time because I said something against Hillary Clinton. And I made sure that I let it be known that I think less of him than I think of Hillary Clinton. So for me, that's where the cutoff is. And listen, we should be able to agree to disagree. But what has happened is that you, Tim Black, and Zach Haller, and all of you have come to the rescue in aid of Kaitlyn and try to silence me and the Progressive Army for even having a dissenting opinion. If everyone actually cared to go back to the genesis of all of these arguments over the last 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks for Noah and them who've been fighting it even longer than me, if you go back to the genesis, it's merely the fact that we have the gall to disagree with this idea. Nobody has said that you can't do it, but what I have said is that if you do it, then we're going to vocally oppose it. And when I say fight, I mean we're going to vocally oppose it in our media, in our social media, and everything that we do. Now, do you agree that we have the right to do that, to oppose something that we disagree with?
Of course. I mean, the issue isn't
okay, so then why are we arguing?
Well, because it's not a matter of simply opposing. What it is social media bullying, and it's you're racist because no, hold on one second. You might not have said this, although in your segment you did say it is a duty for people to fight, and they're just the same. Anyone calling for this is just the same. And then some moron editor to Counterpunch wrote a disingenuous article. Then an even more insignificant person at Daily Banter wrote an article. So people are piling on. There's this social media groupthink paradigm that says if you're disloyal, I'm not talking about, Ben, like I'm not talking about a disagreement that you have or I have. For example, if you disagree with the point ideologically, that's cool. It's not a problem for me. What I don't like is this person has been I was attacked in 2015 when I said, you know who was unelectable. So I know how it feels. That's one of the reasons that I feel that it's important to ensure that Kaitlyn Johnstone is not silenced. It's not about uniting with the right or giving them credibility. It is about being able to speak without being called racist or sexist or homophobic or alt-right, simply because you deviate from the Pac-Man, Cedar, Cenk Uygur, Neera Tand, and Joy Reid paradigm that gave us Trump. The DNC, this is in the WikiLeaks DNC emails. We know, and the Podesta emails, we know that they elevated Trump. They literally cheated Bernie, elevated Trump to give us the world we have now. So whereas I do agree with you, like, I don't say to you, Ben, oh, don't focus on Trump. Go ahead. Do everything you want for Trump. You know, everything. Anyone. If Sam Cedar wants to focus his brand, fine. Or Pac-Man, great. But what I'm saying is My thing, which is why conservatives watch my channel in addition to progressives, is I go after the people who gave us Trump, which is the DNC and the Democratic Party that stands for nothing. That's what Kaitlyn Johnstone also talks about. Kaitlyn Johnstone talks about anti-war, DNC cheating, Bernie Sanders. So it's not what I'm saying. Like, I just feel it's very dangerous to, it's not that I disagree with you in terms of opposing her viewpoint. This kind of call for collective action to silence somebody, and you're a big voice too, dude. You're a big voice. We have other publications. To silence one individual is dangerous. I mean, I just think that's where I'm coming from.
You've never asked me to not talk about Trump. I've never asked you, actually, when I did ask you about the psychosis that I think you have with Hillary Clinton, this fascination that you have with Hillary Clinton, I came directly to you, DMs, and then we did a show about it. So I didn't ask you to stop. I just want to understand, you know, so you never asked me to stop talking about Trump. I've never asked you to stop talking about Hillary. I just needed to explore why you are obsessed with her. But what you have asked me to do, and I'm scrolling back in my DMs, you have asked me to lay off of Kate.
When did I read?
I inadvertently applied that to Tim Black.
I never said lay. I never did. I use the words lay off.
We only had. I'm going back to get the exact word so I don't misquote you. But we only have one ground rule. That's not to interrupt each other, and I'm going to be guilty of it as much as you. So I'm going back. But you did. You asked me to. Hey, you know, she has a good heart and all this kind of stuff. I'm gonna get the exact message. I don't share messages pertinent for the debate. And I found it interesting though, and I'm scrolling because we've been arguing for a minute now, back and forth.
No, I'm just saying,
in between telling each other we respect each other and me telling you to fuck off. I'm sorry, but you know, we've been arguing for a minute. So 727. Hey Ben. Hi Ben, hope all is well. If you want to debate on the Kaitlyn drama, I'd love to. Your show, our dialogue is good. Twitter isn't a forum for debate. I never asked you to take it easy. Hang on, actually it's before that. That's 724. Hi Ben, hope all is well. Solid fireworks regarding Kaitlyn. I feel she is brilliant, exactly what the left needs in terms of counterpunch critique of her sentiment about aligning certain issues. If they coincide, et cetera. Our shows, debate if you like. Come on, and I asked you, are you going to cape for her? Who's going to embrace Mike Cernovich? And we went back and forth. No, that's just what I'm trying to do. This started with counterpunch. All right, so I did misquote you. You didn't ask me to lay off of Kaitlyn, but.
So I didn't. So wait, Ben, be fair. Be fair now.
I just read it again.
No, I didn't.
Your words were not for me to lay off of Kaitlyn.
Okay, so I never said to lay off from Kaitlyn. Neither did Tim.
But your words are here. Your words are here is that you want to argue her. You want to argue her ideology. He's trying to say, and what I'm trying to tell you is that we are going to fundamentally disagree on that. We've made it clear. And what you speak about trolls, right? You speak about the Progressive Army like we're deep. Dude, do you guys know Progressive Army is like 25, 35 on good days, 35 people, the Progressive Army. Whereas you and Zach and Tim, you guys have literally sent hundreds of your horde into our mentions.
I never sent anyone.
30 seconds and I'm done. You guys have sent hundreds of your hordes into our mentions. And here's the thing. I'm not going to complain about the people that you send in my mentions because that's just kind of how it goes, right? But I'm not trying to silence Kaitlyn. I'm saying we have the, and you know what? I'm not even going to mention Kaitlyn again until she owns up and argues with the people that she's been blocking. But this is the last thing I'm going to say about her. Nobody's trying to silence her. But when you put an idea into, you goddamn better believe we are going to challenge it and have the right to vehemently challenge it. And I don't care what platform it takes, social media, YouTube, whatever, in person, whatever, we have the right to challenge it. And I'm sorry if you feel like that's oppression. You feel like me challenging Kaitlyn's idea is like oppression and trolling. But no, you do not get a platform that's unchallenged. Space. And I think we can all agree nobody gets a safe space in the public square.
No, nobody gets a safe space, absolutely. And my thing is you know, because we're talking now, I'll cool it. I will cool it just out of respect regarding, I guess you didn't like the tweets that I put about like things happening before I debate Ben. So I'm not
toes.
I'm not gonna
The hell out of
the
me.
Lakers
Like
back to back,
shit.
you know, all
I'm
that
sorry,
stuff. But I'll go ahead and cool it on that stuff. But my whole thing is, look, if Benjamin Dixon or Progressive Army or anyone wants to disagree ideologically, cool. But social media, in addition to, I mean, the context is you had a hit piece from Counterpunch, you had a hit piece from the Daily Banter, then you did a segment calling for people to fight anyone who disagrees with a certain term ideology.
Fight this idea, absolutely.
Okay, but
absolutely.
my whole thing is the idea hasn't even been discussed. If you could go ahead, if a person could go ahead and work with somebody on the right to, let's say, save Black lives, white lives, Asian, Latino, to save human beings, to prevent war, isn't that a worthy cause for that moment without emboldening other issues?
Ask the first part again. I heard the last part.
Isn't it ethical and moral to work with somebody on the complete opposite end of the political spectrum in order to save lives?
I gotta reject the premise, man, because the premise, you want me to cede the idea that the alt-right is actually interested in saving lives.
No, the hell with the alt-right. I'm not talking about alt-right.
I'll be brief. That the alt-right actually is anti-war, or that Mike Cernovich is anti-war, or that even Donald Trump is anti-war. That I will not concede that argument, because it's fundamentally untrue. They are anti-intervention when it doesn't benefit the United States of America. They are 100% on board with the Clash of Civilizations type of wars. They are 100% on board if it's a war against Islam. And what I have to fundamentally, they're not interested in saving lives per se. They're interested in saving money if it's not a Clash of Civilization war. So I can't agree with the premise of the question.
Ben, I knew very well one of the reasons, I know very well that one of the reasons, and I've always known this Trump was less of an interventionist, is simply because the right is isolationist. So I understand, I agree with you on that. What I'm trying to say is, if they happen to fall into the right situation for the wrong reasons, what do I care? They're in the right situation. They're actually, in a way, inadvertently saving a life or saving lives or helping things. So if they do something good for the wrong reasons, it's still, in the end of the day, I see a good thing to end wars, or to because look, I mean, perpetual wars affects Black soldiers, Latino American soldiers, everybody. The military takes everybody. So what I'm saying is, where is this? I disagree with, and it's not like I don't send anyone. I know you don't send anyone on social media, but it's not just, I see a paradigm that's being broken by Kaitlyn Johnstone, and a paradigm that exists to kind of promote this groupthink that alt-right, bad, they're not human, they're horrible, they never have a good idea, and even if they do have a good idea, we can't possibly even retweet them, because that would be a threat to us. And let me tell you how pervasive that guilt trip is. For me, even though I fight everybody, I feel guilty sometimes if I retweet, or if I go ahead and say, okay, I know that person's conservative, but I still do, because I say that's not normal. That's sick in my brain to feel guilty of a retweet. So my thing is, where does this groupthink end, Ben? I mean, let me ask you this: if you have a Black progressive, I believe Trump tweeted a Black female progressive the other day. I forgot her name. She's quite well known. I mean, in terms of the communities that are being hurt by Trump, or all of these things that, Trump exists because of the DNC anyway. What I'm saying is, where does it end? Even a Black progressive is committing a cardinal sin by being a progressive or retweeting Cernovich, or, where does the group thing end, Ben?
Dude, that little thing in your head that says, maybe I shouldn't retweet Cernovich, that's not groupthink. That's decency. Cernovich is a piece of shit, right? He advocates for fantasies of rape. Dude, I'm sorry, neighbors, but fuck Mike Cernovich. You should not want to be associated with him in any regard. He's the scum of the earth. I'm sorry, that is your conscience. It's not groupthink. You know what? I'm not even going to bring this one up because that's for me and Tim to debate. But there's plenty of groupthink that exists and that it does occur. But your conscience is telling you, this guy is a piece of shit. Maybe I shouldn't retweet him.
But you and I both agree that if it is for the cause of saving lives, preventing wars. Let's say, for example, on libertarians, a lot of them want massive police reform. They don't like an overarching police state, which hurts Black communities. So my thing is, no one says anything when Rand Paul and Cory Booker work together, and they should, to overhaul the prison industrial complex, and they should work together. So my question though to you is still, even though Cernovich has stated things that you and I find reprehensible, if to retweet or to even work on a research. So let me ask you a question. So Cernovich goes to you tomorrow, or whatever. Bill O'Reilly says Benjamin
Cernovich
Dixon
could be on fire. I wouldn't piss on him.
I understand, but let's say Bill O'Reilly goes to you, Benjamin Dixon, says, look, I want to go ahead and overhaul the prison industrial complex to ensure that 800,000 Black people are not incarcerated, to ensure that the criminal justice program changes to where, people are not, there is no this mass incarceration where people are dying in jails, overcrowded jails. If Bill O'Reilly wanted to work on that issue with you and said, let's go on a speaking tour, would you go on a speaking tour with him?
The first thing I have to ask Bill O'Reilly is, so now you're rejecting everything that you previously said that contributed to the prison industrial complex, that damaged the Black community, that vilified Black people, that led to the deaths of actual people, right? Are you repudiating that? Are you apologizing for that? Are you saying that this is no longer your worldview? Are you repenting from your white nationalist, white supremacist sin, Bill O'Reilly? If you are, come to Jesus and we can have a hallelujah good time and we'll go on tour. What has happened in the case of Mike Cernovich is that not only has he not repudiated what he said, but Kaitlyn Johnstone, who I'm not going to mention again, has refused to repudiate him. And that's my problem. My problem is that you are for the benefit of having his platform, you refuse to repudiate a man who says that rape isn't real, that date rape doesn't happen, that Trayvon Martin got killed before he could rape some women. If you don't reject what and actually let's go back to what you said, because you said a lot. You said Cory Booker and Rand Paul. I've heard you say a lot more about Cory Booker than I've ever heard you say in negative towards Rand Paul, but that's not the conversation here. I just want to throw that out to be petty. But I will say this, Rand Paul, I need to know why Rand Paul is standing up for this, because what I have found in libertarian circles, they 100% can identify the military and the prison industrial complex. They 100% can identify the police state. They 100% can see the abuse of policing agencies and the need to reform it. But when they get selective amnesia is when it comes to the Black community. So if Rand Paul wants to work with me, he needs to open up his mouth and say that he sees this violence in the Black community as much as anywhere else. And if he really believes that and he says that, then perhaps. But they have too much to account for before I could get in bed with them on anything.
If Bill O'Reilly,
if Kamala Harris comes out today and says, I'm for single payer, I'm for a livable wage, shit, I'm for universal basic income. She comes out and I'm anti-war. Should disband complex. If she comes out and says that today, are you going to sign up and work with her?
If she's against interventions and other things, sure. But my question to you though is this, pertaining directly to our discussion. If Bill O'Reilly went to Benjamin Dixon and said, yeah, I want a wall and fuck the immigrants. And you know what? I'm not a fan of Black Lives Matter. But what I will do is I sincerely believe that racial profiling is a horrific crime, a stain on this nation. And it has contributed to hundreds of thousands of Black citizens being incarcerated, many times unjustly, sometimes dying in prison. I want to work with you, Ben, on ensuring that we remove racial profiling and from the criminal justice system, and we completely destroy mass incarceration. But yeah, you know what? I want to build a wall. You would not do that. I mean, you would not help the Black community to completely transform the prison industrial complex to where racial profiling is removed and all of these things with the help of Bill O'Reilly. You wouldn't, on that issue that directly impacts Black lives and could save Black people. You would not disregard O'Reilly's other stances, and you wouldn't work with him.
You said something else, and I missed that last thing.
And you would not work with him on that noble goal because he didn't repudiate other things you disagree with?
But he started the conversation by saying that he doesn't believe. Wait, what was the opening premise?
What I'm saying, can you hear me okay?
At the beginning, what does he
what
doesn't
I'm
agree
saying
with
is
me
if Bill O'Reilly went to you and said, I want to completely revamp the prison industrial complex to where—
I got that part, but what does he still disagree with me on?
What I'm saying is, would you not work with Bill O'Reilly on that noble issue that would help Black people simply because he still wanted a wall, or he still viewed other things?
Here's the thing. I can't really hear because you said a lot, and I forgot what you said in terms of what he still disagrees with me on. But I think what you're missing is a fundamental underlying issue that is a non-starter for me. And you know what it is? This white supremacy is at the root of a lot of everything that we experience, from mass incarceration to Donald Trump's desire to build a wall. But I don't even need that argument. Let's put white supremacy aside. We Black and people of color leftists have been saying since before Bernie, but especially when Bernie came back on the scene to run for president, we have been saying there are plenty of that is not being tapped. There's only 46% of the electorate voted. That means there's over 54% that did not vote, that there is power in the electorate that's not being tapped. And we advocated to the top of our lungs for progressives to align with the people who did not vote and create a coalition that would destroy neoliberalism, that would destroy conservatism, and will move forward with an anti-war message. And instead of doing that, align with Cernovich?
Yeah, but my question though, I think I fixed the audio. Can you hear me better now?
I have no need to align with Bill O'Reilly when there are hundreds of thousands of people out there who want to get the same thing done without his bigotry.
Yeah, I understand that, but what I'm saying is O'Reilly has a huge following. What I'm saying is if he could go ahead and help a cause like the prison industrial complex, I'm saying theoretically, you would not work with a person to help Black people unless they repudiated other issues?
I have rejected several platforms that could have sped my ascent, if you want to call it this. I've rejected it because one particular guy has a hatred for Black women in specific. And I'm like, oh God, I know I don't have to align with this dude to get ahead. And then there was another guy who had an issue with with the gay community, the LGBTQ community, huge following, wanted to put me on. And I said, you know what, I'm okay. I'll be patient and do it on my own. I will pass up Bill O'Reilly promoting me, especially because of everything he said, but also because at the fundamental, this is a real place that I think you guys have a blind sight. Their convenient alignment or parity in with your goals is not really an agreement with your goals. It's really that they can cast and they can disguise their intentions, and they can make it seem like, oh, it's going to work great for progressives if you just do this. But in reality, everything they stand for is anti-progressive. So twofold, I reject them because everything that they believe in is anti-progressive. At the end of the day, even if they're anti-war, it's a convenient anti-war. They're not truly anti-war. They're anti-interventionist, but they're not anti-clash of civilizations. So I reject them on the premise, but then I also reject them because everything they bring with it. And I'm sorry, this is why I will enforce my own purity test. That's not for me, and I hope that's not for anybody who follows me.
All right, so fine. So if it could help people And
I'll just be patient and keep working the way I am. I mean, I only got 19,000 followers on YouTube. I mean, I've got a lot of impact with just my 19,000.
absolutely,
So, shit,
absolutely.
why do I have to sell? Why would I sell my soul, even a piece of my soul, to get my signal boosted?
Well, but see,
and that's what Kaitlyn
this
has
is
done.
the thing.
And
this
if she disagrees with it, she should come from the shadows and defend her point.
This is the thing I don't understand, though.
She's blocked.
But this is the thing I don't understand. We were told to sell our souls regarding voting for Hillary Clinton and ignoring the fact that she took prison lobbyist money. So we were told all the time, well, a super predator comment was a long time ago. So that's the thing. I mean, the white supremacy that you're talking about exists a lot. It's alive and well in the Democratic Party. Black poverty increased under President Obama. That's according to NBC News. So what I'm saying, though, is you have a zero tolerance for, I understand you don't condone the white supremacy in the Democratic Party. I get that. You don't condone Hillary Clinton's comments, but I don't see the level of vitriol or the no tolerance policy when it comes to establishment Democrats, not even talking about the white supremacy within the Democratic Party that leads to Hillary Clinton taking prison lobbyist money.
So, have you been to progressivearmy.com lately? Have you watched, I mean, I'm not saying this to be an asshole, but have you watched my backlog, my catalog? I mean, after the election, I went on an entire I Told You So tour showing everything that I said would happen if Hillary Clinton ran against Donald Trump. You know how many neoliberals have me blocked on Twitter? Like, motherfucker, I don't even know what's going on with this corn cob shit because I'm blocked by most of them motherfuckers. So I hear you talking, but you're not talking to me. You're talking to somebody else. And I love it how conveniently you guys try to cast us as if we disagree with you, then by de facto, we are Hillary Clinton supporters. Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton are the #1 purveyors of the military, of the prison industrial complex. They are the reason friends of mine are in prison right now. I know exactly who Hillary Clinton is, and I have no tolerance for that part of, well, specifically Bill Clinton, because he's the one that signed that shit, but Hillary Clinton was laying right next to him. So I have no problem calling him out, and I've got videos to boot.
But see, I
got receipts. Why are you asking me this?
I never said, Ben, that you condone it, because I know you don't condone it. I specifically stated, I know you don't condone it. What I'm saying is, and I stated this with Alex Rubinstein, and I'll state this with Ben Norton if I ever debate him, or the guy on the moron at the editor at Counterpunch. What I'm saying is the level of vitriol and outrage is muted when it comes to, maybe not you, but I do see on social media, the level of outrage is muted when it comes to people who actually have power to influence laws and who have negatively influenced the lives of voters of the Democratic Party, whether it's mass incarceration or telling people in the Democratic National Committee, do not offer Black Lives Matter policy solutions. That is something infinitely worse than a tweet from Cernovich or anyone else. But I don't see the vitriol, the anger, the outrage. What I see is, oh, well, that's just politics. Let's not talk about it, or let's condemn it, but let's focus on one writer who says, yeah, maybe it's okay to retweet a blogger from the right, but the big issues, and maybe I'm not directly focusing on you regarding the big issues, because I know you do cover them. But what I am saying regarding your stance is I don't see the same level of vitriol. I don't see you saying, you know what, let's go ahead and we have to fight the Neera-Tandons of the world who perpetuate this the Democratic nominees who take prison lobbyist money.
I'm blocked by Neera-Tandon. I'm blocked by Joyanne Reed. I'm blocked by Joan Walsh. You know why? Because I did take a stand. But here's the thing, man. Here's where I admit I'm a jerk and an asshole. I'm not going to dance for you or anyone else to prove my progressive bona fides, right? You guys can think of me as a corporate shield and a neoliberal shield. Actually, I kind of enjoy it. I get off on that kind of shit. But I know my record, and my crew knows my record. We're a small crew, and I don't care how small we are. What I do know is this. Everything that you presented to me is an informal logical fallacy called to quoque, right? You're basically saying because of the hypocrisy of this person, we should not address the argument.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I never stated that at all.
That's totally what you're saying.
No, I never said nobody, people aren't allowed to disagree with Kaitlyn Johnstone. Of course, you can disagree, but what takes place when Kaitlyn Johnstone writes an article is, oh my God, she wants to align with the alt-right, but never, oh my God, Clinton takes prison lobbyist donations. You can at least agree.
But regardless,
you can at least agree, Ben. One second. Let me just finish this point. You can at least agree that the level of vitriol and outrage is far less when Clinton takes prison lobbyist money than when Kaitlyn wrote the article.
I don't know, because Neera Tanden, actually, no, I'm sorry, Joan Walsh, she specifically tweeted. I had to go into incognito window to see it. She said, oh, I don't know, but Ben was so mean to me. I don't have anything to do with him. So I don't know if the vitriol or the level of my rhetoric towards Kaitlyn is less than what was towards Clinton. All I know is that I've got at least blocks against me from the neoliberal center. But again, I would rather your audience think that I'm a neoliberal shill than to shuck and jive and say, oh, I'm a good progressive boss. Yeah. No, I don't really care. But what you're doing fundamentally is this. It's still a logical fallacy. To quote, you are saying that because of their hypocrisy that we shouldn't change, that we shouldn't address the underlying argument. Hang on. I let you finish. This is the truth of the matter is, even if they are wrong, which I happen to agree with you because I got a backlog of videos to support it. Even if they are wrong, that doesn't make Kaitlyn right. Both of them can be wrong. And Kaitlyn Johnstone is wrong. And I'm sorry I keep bringing up her name, but Kaitlyn, if you really want to defend your idea, you should defend it yourself instead of allowing my friend here to do it for you.
What I'm saying only is this. What I'm saying is I have conservatives who watch my channel. Tim Black also has less conservatives than I, infinitely less, because he's a pure progressive channel than I. But there are people like Zach Haller. Okay, there are people. Nico House also has some conservatives who watch his channel. That doesn't, the majority of Nico's channel, the majority of Tim's channel, the majority of Zach's channel, and I would say that somewhat the majority of mine are progressive. Okay, my brand is I hate the DNC for giving us the world that we have, and I knew that it would take place. I'm not saying that you're a neoliberal. Well, I mean, I did on Twitter, but I understand you're not. What I'm saying is there are, you know, I can't. You might have been blocked by Neera Tanden, fine, or Joan Walsh, but what I'm saying is
Joy Reid.
Reid.
Jonathan Capehart, Charles Blow. I mean, I got the whole list. I mean, I'm
blocked by the majority, and I'm blocked by the majority of people as well. What I'm trying to say, though, is this: it is dangerous, in my mind. I don't say that you have to agree with Kaitlyn. Nobody has to agree with anyone, but I don't see the. Maybe I can't speak on behalf of you specifically, but in terms of the uproar, I do not see the outrage or indignation regarding the racism that Hillary Clinton used and against President Obama or the DNC with the memo, don't offer policy solutions to Black Lives Matter, or the fact that Black poverty increased under President Obama. I don't see, these are examples of quote unquote white supremacy. I don't see, if there's a zero tolerance for white supremacy, then there should be a zero tolerance and in all respects. I don't see a blogger who says things that are crazy, but who does have a big platform as a bigger threat than DNC officials telling Democratic lawmakers do not offer policy solutions to Black Lives Matter activists. That directly impacts the lives of Black people. So all I'm saying is, I get the disagreement that you have with Kaitlyn, but I don't see why she should be painted as alt-right. If people are going to try to paint Kaitlyn as alt-right, then the Democratic National Committee is more than alt-right. They're working for the alt-right because they're actually telling Black Lives Matter. They're actually telling lawmakers, and this is a Huffington Post article. This is documented. They're actually telling lawmakers not to offer policy solutions to Black Lives Matter activists. So, I mean, that's the ideological stance I'm coming from, Ben. I don't see the level of vitriol and outrage. All I see is circle the wagons from the TYTs of the world. Go on.
I can only hold 3. I heard 3 different things in there that I have to contend with, and I can't hold them all. Do you mind if I interject there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, because the 4th one, I'll get lost. the first thing that you said that jumps out to me the most, that is so fallacious and dangerous, is calling Mike Cernovich a blogger who says crazy things. Mike Cernovich is a dangerous motherfucker who needs I won't advocate for actual violence on here because I'm not in person. I don't like to do that. Like actual violence, we got to say that in person. But Mike Cernovich is dangerous. Person who has been raped, man or woman.
More dangerous than the DNC?
Hang on, let me just finish this. Mike Cernovich is dangerous. He's not crazy. He's dangerous. All right. Now, that being said, the second thing is I'm disappointed in myself because I didn't misidentify, but you're actually doing something different here than to quote Quay. What you're doing here is a convenient straw man. You're arguing against this group but that's not the group who's going against Kaitlyn Johnstone. The group that's going against Kaitlyn Johnstone are the people who fought against the DNC, against Hillary Clinton, tooth and nail. We lost money, we lost opportunities. People were like, oh, Ben, you can come on my show. And then they canceled as soon as they looked at my timeline to see how hard we fought against Hillary Clinton. I had CNN cancel on me a bunch of times because they said, oh, he's too hard on Hillary Clinton. Right. So you're making this straw man argument of people who do exist, but I've never even heard them, the Neera Tanners, the Joy Reids. They probably don't even know who Kaitlyn is. You know who the people are that are disagreeing with Kaitlyn? Black leftists, people of color leftists, Muslim leftists, people who poured everything on the altar of progressivism to fight against Hillary Clinton. But you keep constructing this straw man to say, oh, it's these neoliberals up here. No. They don't even know who Kaitlyn is. Leftists, black leftists,
they're a black leftists. We oppose
Hillary Clinton and we oppose Kaitlyn. And there was a third thing. Now you see shit. Now I forgot what the third thing is. I'm getting old. Go ahead. It'll come back to me.
Well, there are black female leftists I know on Twitter who disagree with people in Progressive Army. There are black men who disagree with people who are progressive too.
But we're talking about Kaitlyn's premise.
I've seen it on Twitter when we go at it. So I mean, but my whole thing is, look, this issue is about, I guess we've come to a situation where you have, and this is not a straw man. This is directly his.
I remember it.
The mentality of work. So some guy on the live stream said, "Oh well, HA is gonna work with Nazis because the DNC is evil." No, I would not work with quote unquote Nazis. I don't think Nazis would want to work with a Jewish guy. What I'm saying is this: Cernovich is a blogger. The DNC is a political party that's supposed to. Hold on one second. Or whatever, OReilly is. These are media personalities. The DNC actually makes laws or helps. Is a political party related to Democratic lawmakers who then make laws. When it's not a straw man, it is directly part of all of this. If there's a zero tolerance for white supremacy. And white supremacy ultimately is exemplified by the DNC stating categorically, do not offer Black Lives Matter policy solutions. This is a Huffington Post article. What I'm saying then is, obviously, that's infinitely more egregious than the crazy statement that somebody on the right makes. And that is just reality. I mean, a right-wing pundit is not as dangerous as the DNC telling lawmakers don't offer solutions to Black people. Is that correct?
It was actually the DCCC, and this is the fifth time you mentioned that, and I remember it because I hunted that story down. I found the guy who wrote the memo that you're referring to. It started off as a memo that got picked up by everybody. And I hunted him down, found him on Facebook, and he wouldn't reply to me because I wanted to explore exactly what you're talking about. And I have no desire to defend him because he was careless in his language and said something that was extremely stupid and easily used like you're using right now. But to be sure, even if, and I'm not ceding you this argument because I actually debated back and forth with somebody, and as arrogant as people think I am, this person actually was able to convince me of otherwise. But even if I ceded you your argument about this memo that this guy wrote that said don't offer policy solutions, which I don't necessarily cede, we could have an entirely different debate about that. But even if I did cede that to you, Mike Cernovich's white supremacy okay with you?
No, the issues that he states that I disagree with. But if he's anti-war and it actually, if he writes something that it's worth retweeting, that could potentially open people's minds up to Black, Latino, Asian soldiers, Americans not going off to the next battle to get their legs blown off or traumatic brain injury. What? So you mean to tell me that because he has said things that I disagree with, I cannot then engage in in an activity that would promote something noble that he actually agrees with also?
So yes and no, sure, but it's not noble. The underlying ideology behind Mike Cernovich, the alt-right, the conservatism in general, I don't care how you dress it up, the underlying thought and goal of conservatism all the way to the alt-right is not noble. And I feel as though, I honestly believe that people like you and your followers and Kaitlyn have been so disillusioned by what happened during the primaries that you and I agree with what happened in the primaries. You're so disillusioned that you have opened yourself up to a community that has temporary rhetoric that aligns with what you. But what they actually want is not what you want, HA. That's what we're trying to tell y'all. Yeah, they do not want what you want. They are not anti-war. This is the premise that I reject wholeheartedly. They are not anti-war. They are anti-intervention, except for when it's a clash of civilizations. They will line up in a war against Islam in the motherfucking morning. And I'm trying to help you guys understand that. But if you disagree with me on that, then that's fine. But I'm here to tell you that Cernovich and all the alt-right, Donald Trump, the conservative movement, they are not anti-war. They are establishment. Okay. I mean, he was hanging out at the White House. He is establishment. Okay, so I don't know why. And then even if, and I'll shut up because I'm talking a lot, but even anti-establishment, why would you sacrifice the relationships with the people who were in the trenches with you all during the primaries against the white supremacy that is personified by Bill Clinton's mass incarceration complex, right? Why would you abandon us on behalf of a Mike Cernovich?
But this is not about Ben. It's not.
There are hundreds of thousands of progressives out there who would fight till the end, but you guys decide that Mike Cernovich is the way to go.
Look, Ben, Tim, me, Kaitlyn, Nico, Zach, all of these people, we don't align ourselves, quote unquote, align ourselves with anybody on the right. What I'm simply saying is this is a simple question. It's not a straw man or a logical fallacy. The question is the following. And I guess, I mean, we could wrap it up, and I really appreciate, I mean, in like 5 minutes, if you have 5 more minutes, so we can keep talking. But this is a really important question, and it comes to, this is essentially the debate. You would not work with a person on the right who said crazy things to help the Black community if
dangerous things. Dangerous things.
So if he said what you consider dangerous, if he could help the Black community in some way, you would not work with him.
If he refuses to listen, dude. Here you go. I'll give you the perfect example of what you're talking about. Donald Trump is trying to cast his extremely bigoted new policies. I forgot the name of it. It was just last week. Stephen Miller came out in support of it, but basically saying that they're going to put a standard of you have to be able to speak English to come to America. You have to be able to support yourself when you come to America. You can't get welfare when you come to America. Oh, no shit. You can't get welfare as an immigrant. Anyway, but I digress. But if all of that, and you know what he said? You know what he said his reason was? His reason was because he wants to help the Black community because those people are undermining the jobs in the Black community. Now, insult a lot of people, but I'm about to. If you are so simple that you actually believe that Donald Trump gives two shits about the black community and that this policy is to help the black community, and don't see through it that this is nothing more than to try to create a wedge between the black community and the immigrant community in order to divide us and divide progressive policies, then I can't help that you can't see that. This is what I'm saying. Every policy that they present that has the aura of progressivism, if you cut through the bullshit and you get to the core of it, you will realize that it has nothing to do with progressive values. It has everything to do with forwarding a xenophobic worldview that is militaristic, to be sure, that will wage war so long as that war is against Islam right now. In 20 years, it'll be somebody else. But okay, that's who they are. So I can wholeheartedly tell you that it is quite easy for me to reject Mike Cernovich, yes, Bill O'Reilly, yes, Donald Trump, all the rest of them, because at the end of the day, they do not have our best interest at heart.
All right, so if look, I'm going to make this personal to me, since I've been, stating questions in a certain manner. There is a very well-known YouTube channel that the guy is brilliant, and I know that he is not, a racist guy or anti-Semitic. He has stated, though, I'm not going to call him out, but I think that the guy is brilliant, and I think he's a good person, genuinely good person. But he has stated things that I disagree with regarding the Holocaust. And he has stated things that are historically inaccurate. Now, quite historically inaccurate, to the point where everybody on the comments section is a straight up, Holocaust denier. So what I'm saying, though, is, like, a lot of people don't know this, but there are elderly Jewish people throughout the country who are very poor. Okay. If this person, even though he stated several things that are historically inaccurate, that would amount to Holocaust denial. And a lot of the people who in that one segment, the comments were full of Holocaust deniers. Now, I obviously disagree with him, and if I debated him on that, I would win, because there's documentation and books and everything. There's no denying the Armenian genocide or the Holocaust. There's no denying it, and there's enough literature, mountains of literature, to explain this person is wrong on that topic. But if he wanted to go ahead and said, I want to help elderly Jewish people who are poor, and there's a lot of elderly Jewish people who are poor in major cities throughout the country, I would say, yeah, I want to help those people. And so I trying to use an example to say, yeah, this person, disrespected or is promoting a dangerous ideology that could, hurt Jewish people. But if he wanted to help Jewish people on the same token, on the flip side, I would say, hell yeah, because those poor Jewish people who are elderly, who are 80 years old, they don't have anything in their refrigerator to eat. They don't care what he said in one YouTube segment. They don't care. So my thing is, if they're poor, well, hold on one second. My question: if there are elderly black people who could benefit from you joining with Cernovich or Bill O'Reilly, why couldn't you do that? On one issue of poverty, on one specific issue, not everything. You're not condoning the reason. So you're saying, oh my God, they're anti-war, but they really want war. But the Democrats are actually neocons, but they want to help people. So we can go into the debate on why Democrats are warlike and why Republicans happen to fall into anti-war. That's a completely separate argument. What I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, I gave you an example of somebody who I vehemently disagree with on a big issue, but would team up with to help people in my community. You would not help people in your community if a Cernovich said, I want to team up with you to help elderly black people. You wouldn't do that?
You know why I wouldn't do that? Because Grandmama and Medea would say, What the hell is wrong with you? Why are you aligning with the KKK to come out? That's like asking me to align with the KKK to come and do a breakfast program in the hood. I would get chased out of my community. Jewish Voice for Peace. I did an interview with one of the leaders of Jewish Voice for Peace. Something in me tells me that they would reject the idea, and I could be completely wrong, and if I am, I eat my words, but something tells me that they would reject the idea of working with someone who is a Holocaust denier. I feel for you, I feel like you think this is a statement of you are the bigger person. But what I'm saying and for me, there's a certain level where we're not required to be the bigger people. We're not required to be the noble ones when we're talking about people who deny our right to exist. And I'm sorry, like, I feel you that you feel like that makes you a bigger person. So I'm not going to slam on you in that regard, because I understand that. I learned to let that bullshit go, because it is bullshit in my estimation. But I will say this: you have the opportunity to work with people who don't do that, who don't deny the Holocaust, who don't say that Black Lives Matter is ISIS, who don't say that rape doesn't exist. And you and this entire cabal have decided that Progressive Army, they're neoliberal shills. We want to be down with Mike Cernovich. So
we're not. No. Nobody.
Why are we expendable? Why are we expendable in this relationship when you're choosing between people who were in the trenches? HA, was I not in the trenches with every single one of you?
Yes, but I never. Wait a second, Ben. Tim, me, Zach. Nobody. Oh, I can only speak for me, and I pretty much know Tim. We never went after. I never went after you ever, and neither you never went after me. This Kaitlyn issue is the only time we disagreed, and it blew up on social media. And I don't think that a difference of opinion means you and I or Progressive Army and the people you mentioned have to be at war. The issue was simply a disagreement that elevated because of miscommunication on Twitter.
It's not a miscommunication, though. It's not a miscommunication.
And nobody is working. Wait, nobody.
I want to make sure that you're clear on what I'm saying. It's not a miscommunication for me. I'm saying that if you feel, and HA, even though I do tell you to go fuck yourself from time to time, and I wanted you to share that. So thank you for sharing that. You're a likable guy, and that's what makes me mad. You're still likable, even though I tell you to go fuck yourself. But you guys have decided to make an enemy of us because we disagree and we.
You're not my enemy. No, Progressive Army is not enemy. There's no enemies.
Ask your followers, man. Ask your followers. Ask your people. I don't know. Hang on. Let's talk about this real quick. And this might can sum it up, because I think it's cool, man. It's cool. I think this is a cool place for us to say, hey, we're just not going to be able to work together anymore. And have a respectful distance, because if this is a track that you feel is the right way to go, I'm going to shout to the top of my lungs, it's bullshit, right? But that doesn't mean we have to be in each other's space. Go do what you're going to do. I'm going to oppose you and disagree with you, but that doesn't make us like bitter enemies, right? However, I want to ask you this. This is one of your followers, Matthew Thankman 360 on Twitter. He says, I do not.
You're reading somebody. I don't know this person, Ben.
It doesn't matter. It's the idea. It's the idea. Forget him. He's nobody. Anyway. Yes, Matthew. He said, who does Benjamin P. Dixon think he is, asking people to repudiate past ideas or people? He has a massive ego. Forget him. So I want to ask you that, because that's kind of where we are.
But Ben, that's not really. I've heard way worse. I've heard way worse from people who agree with you. Come on now. That's not that bad of a tweet.
I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's a good question. That's all I'm saying. I'm bringing it up because it's a good question to ask you. Do you feel? This is nothing. This is not trolling. This is an opinion that I think is extremely wrong. And I want to ask you, because I think it kind of encapsulates the entire thing. What I have asked this entire time is that Kaitlyn repudiate Mike Cernovich, because he is a dangerous person who advocates for rape, and he thinks that Black Lives Matter is akin to ISIS, and he makes jokes at the expense of dead Black people. And because of that, it's reasonable, in my estimation, to demand that if Kaitlyn Johnstone wants us to even consider our idea, that she needs to repudiate Mike Cernovich. Now, do you think that that is asking too much?
Well, this is the question that this is the issue here. There is nothing to repudiate because she does not agree with any of those statements. So obviously she does not. So nobody. Hold on. Let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
She does not she does not agree with any of those statements, number one. Number two, she would not embolden any of those statements by retweeting something from him. And number three, if she's going to repudiate, then what about every other person who is on the left that retweets somebody on the right? Do you have to then find out what that person said that was crazy and then repudiate that? I mean, Ben, a person would be repudiating every 2 seconds. There are things that the people on the left, that you don't want me to bring them up, the Clintons have said. I don't see other people repudiating them. What I see is, oh, forget about it. We just have to move on and beat Trump. So I mean, like the whole concept of repudiation. If you don't agree with something, why repudiate?
Because number one, again, you bring up these people on the left who did not oppose Hillary Clinton as a justification of why we should not oppose this. That's not me. That's not Progressive Army. We've got the battle scars. I'm not saying she won't. Can we get that on the record that Benjamin Dixon, the Progressive Army, fought tooth and nail against the white supremacy that is personified in the Democratic Party? Dixon?
No, you cut out for a second.
All right. The question is, can we get on the record for this entire audience that you know that the Progressive Army and Benjamin Dixon fought tooth and nail against Hillary Clinton for many reasons?
Yes, I know that, and that's on the record, and I know that, but also I want on the record, because I've been on your show like 5 times, and we were doing it together, but I want on the record also to know that I am not, Tim is not, Zach is not, Nico is not, Kaitlyn is not calling for any alliance, quote unquote, with Nazis.
Yes, and here's where the rubber meets the road. And this is what I tweeted to you, and I DM'd to you, and you shared with the world. HA, you know I wanted you to share that, right? That's why I put it in order. But here's the thing. I said it to you like this: you can tell a tree by the fruit it bears. You said you're not a tree. I said, okay. You can tell a leader by their followers. Do you know?
Not necessarily, Ben. I disagree with you.
I don't want to interrupt you, man. Let me finish this thought, and it's all yours. Do you know, whenever we engage in this debate about Kaitlyn Johnstone, which, Kaitlyn, can you not defend yourself? Seriously. Like, HA, this is not a slam on you, but holy shit, Kaitlyn, this is your idea. Can you not unblock the women of color that you block and defend yourself? But I digress. I shouldn't have done that, because now I forgot my motherfucking point. The point is this: the people, whenever you and I and Tim get into this argument, you know who I'm confronted with? Legion, hundreds, hundreds, and just a lot of motherfuckers who are Pepe frogs, who are the alt-right, people who say, oh,
do
your
you know
identity
why?
ain't nothing. Hang on, let me finish. Let me give you everything they say. Your identity is nothing. Oh, I can't wait till your identity is forgotten. Blah, blah, blah. These are the people that follow you. And sometimes you got to pause and say, if I'm saying things or affiliated with people who say this type of thing, I got to question what I'm saying. And so you may not want to own, and I can understand why, and I'm not trying to insult you here, but if I have to, you know I will. But you may not want to own the fact that you have hordes of racist, white supremacist, Pepe alt-right followers, but they are there, and you know how? I don't even have to prove it.
Okay,
go into the mentions of any of our arguments.
First of all,
see that they follow you. So okay, my question is,
first of all, let me say this: if somebody,
let me finish, man. People who follow you, what are you saying, or what are you retweeting that draws them to you?
Here is exactly what I'm saying. First of all, my brand, this channel, my writing since 2015. I mean, if you want to make that correlation, I've been on your show 5 times. So are you alt-right? My point is this: my brand is my point is my brand is anti-DNC Democratic Party. There happens to be a lot of progressives who are anti-Democratic Party, but there's also a lot of people on the right who are anti-Democratic Party. Now, when I go ahead and I have my YouTube channel, I want everyone watching. If I'm talking about the Awan scandal, or if I'm talking about the DNC or Hillary Clinton or Debbie Wasserman Schultz or Bernie Sanders being cheated, if people of all different political spectrums enjoy I want that. I don't want to separate people by political ideology, because guess what, Ben? Maybe they will then say, okay, here's a progressive who is not condescending to me, who does not hate me, and maybe he has a point on the issue of race. For example, I did a Philando Castile I did a couple on Philando Castile. One went to 40,000 or 45,000 views. I said that he was murdered. He should be alive. Now, a lot of people in the comments section said, "HA, you're wrong on this." Okay, the police were right, or whatever. But see, when they're listening to an argument that they have not heard, that they disagree with from somebody that they like, there are people who are affected. I also had a lot of right-wing or conservative people say, "HA, you're right on this. You might not be right on the other issues, whether it's, I don't know what other issues, but you're right. Philando Castile was murdered." I had people who were conservative gun owners and who said, "Yeah, I'm as right as they come, but this man was murdered." So it is a good thing to have dialogue with people from all across political spectrums. That doesn't mean that, and I'm glad they watch me. That doesn't mean that I agree with. So when I say, oftentimes I will say on my channel, look, I love Islam. I have no problem. People disagree. Sometimes some people, choose to unsubscribe. Fine. But they know where I stand, and I don't want to censor myself. And if I go up against the DNC that gave us Trump, that's a good thing for people of all political spectrums to watch me, I think. But I mean, we can have a debate on that too. The reason that conservatives watch my channel, or alt-right or whatever, is because I go up against, I hate the Democratic Party. I can't stand them. They can't stand the Democratic Party too. If they enjoy the channel because I talk about Bernie Sanders getting cheated, I don't see the problem with that. I don't think that I don't see the correlation between the fruit, the apple falling far from the tree. I don't see that. I'm not furthering any right-wing narrative. I'm literally saying Bernie Sanders was cheated. Hillary Clinton stored special access program intelligence on an unencrypted server. These are issues that progressives, independents, and liberals or whatever, everybody in the political spectrum likes. But I'll say this, Ben.
Wait, before you go, because that's a closing kind of, that's when you get ready to close. But I gotta ask you this, man. You do realize, right, that you oppose the DNC, I believe, based on everything I've read from you so far, from a progressive perspective, right?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. You oppose the DNC from a progressive perspective.
Yeah.
They oppose the DNC from a staunchly conservative perspective. And whether people want to say, oh, it's not red or what blue, it's not team, it's not. But it is ideological. It is a progressive view for the world versus a conservative view of the world. Our number one complaint about the DNC is that they have moved too far to the right to be even considered progressive. So if therein lies our beef with the DNC, how could you align with people who want to bring the world even further to the right? That's number one. But number two, if they like you for your anti-DNC perspective, it's not for the same reason you have an anti-DNC perspective. They hate the DNC because they see the world should be run completely and totalitarianly through conservatism. I'm sorry. The enemy of my enemy is not always my friend. The enemy of my enemy can sometimes be a worse enemy.
Yeah, but to your first point, why align with the right for a certain? I mean, or why allow the right to watch it or whatever? We were told throughout the election that, oh my God, conservative housewives, this was on CNN, are going to vote for Clinton. Oh my God, this is so fantastic. And they, of course, 53% of white women voted for Trump. Chelsea Clinton retweeted Bill Kristol, who was one of George W. Bush's leading neoconservative influences, the editor of the Weekly Standard. She retweeted the editor of the Weekly Standard, who has done infinitely more harm to this planet than anything Cernovich or Bill O'Reilly has done. But we can look. It's been a fantastic.
But I think that's a great point. I think you point out a great problem that we see, and that's a perfect example of people that they say something that I'm like, that's a good point. And then I look and see who they are. Bill Kristol, I can't even think of the other guy named Druff, David Frum. I see who they are, and I realize what they've done. I say, oh, hell no. You will not get any airtime on my channel, on my Twitter timeline, because I know who you are and what you've done. And I know at the core of you, while you may oppose Donald Trump's xenophobia, it's a convenient opposition, because as soon as you get in power, you're going to do just as bad. So if you could see the hypocrisy, or not even the hypocrisy, if you could see the problem with Chelsea Clinton retweeting David Frum or Bill Kristol, then surely you understand why we have a problem with you all let's just minimize it. Retweeting Mike Cernovich. Let's just minimize it, right? If you have a problem with A, then surely you should have a problem with B.
Yeah, but I mean, well, look, we can go forever about that. I mean, Cernovich is not influential like
he is a
Kristol.
Dangerous man. He is on 60 Minutes. David Frum hasn't even been on 60 Minutes that I know of. Right?
But I mean, Bill Kristol and Robert. Yeah, Bill Kristol, Robert Kagan
is one of the number one trafficking sites in the country. Let's not play him down. Why hey, AJ, and I'm gonna stop. I'm sorry. I had a couple drinks before we I've been, Sunday brunch, you go and drink and stuff. But why are we taking time?
I'm all for the mimosas.
Hey, it was a little heavier than mimosas. But anyway, why are we taking time to qualify a man who has joked about rape, who has joked about sexual assault, who has joked about white supremacy and white nationalism? Why? When you got your brother over here, and your brother who will come in your DMs and tell you that I disagree with you, right? Right? I've been straight up about this, but this is like a non-starter. Why would you defend him at the expense of me?
Nobody, but see, that's the point. Nobody is defending him, and it's not like a loyalty test. Obviously, you and I see infinitely more on the same things. We see eye to eye than I do with Cernovich. I mean, the issue really comes back to, I mean, I'll like I said, I'll make it personal for me, because maybe it's not only right for me to put you on the spot. And by the way, the Jewish people that you spoke to, if they want to debate me on that topic, please let them know so they can go on my show and debate me. but my thing is, I think that, we've had a very productive debate, and I do appreciate you going on. I will go ahead and I'll try to.
Before you, I want to say this. This has nothing to do with what we argued about. I think it was a productive enough debate for you and I to call an armistice. We're not going to agree on this, but can you agree? I will agree. Me and Tim, we still have to hash it out. But you and we're going to disagree on this, but we're not going to air it out on Twitter anymore.
I promise this. Okay. I will not. I have to do one caveat. Because Tim is a great friend of mine, so I have to defend Tim. Like, he defends me. But aside from defending Tim, and I'm sure that there won't be any fireworks, I will not say anything like, I will not instigate anything. And even if somebody in Progressive Army comes at me, I won't say anything. Aside from, actually,
I can't say that because I don't control Progressive Army. We're a loosely affiliated group of people who have our own opinions. We argue more internally about policy than anybody else, but I digress. I will say this. I am going to 100% stomp the ground in opposition towards this idea, so long as Kaitlyn refuses to repudiate Mike Cernovich. But this is not going to be directed towards you. It won't be directed towards Tim. And I will encourage you, and I will agree here, because we've aired it out, that you and I won't get into it over Kaitlyn. It's time for Kaitlyn to own up for her own words.
Well, look, like I said, I've never gotten for me, it's never been about Kaitlyn, the human being per se. It's about an idea. I'm cool.
She's the Jean Grey of the movement, according to Zach Haller. So surely she can.
The idea of working with right and left. That's what Bill Clinton was about with the third way politics.
How much does it cost?
His whole life was about that. Democrats. That's what Democrats do. They work with left and right. But
you reject that idea, though.
I'm cool. I know you're cool with me. We're both cool. on Twitter, I will do my best to, you know, not even.
I'm still gonna slide in your mentions and tell you you're full of shit though, because that's what we do.
Well, listen, man. I think that if you could just do me a favor, so then I'm not drawn into it. If you could, you know, set up something with Tim to where you guys debate about WikiLeaks or whatever. I know that was a big popular subject. I tweeted that. A lot of people around the world would love to see that. If you still have that vantage point, I know Tim definitely would defend WikiLeaks, and it would be literally, I can tell you, seen throughout the world. But aside from that, I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna, you know, we're totally cool. And hey, man, I want to just thank you. Any Twitter beef that we have, completely squashed. And you know, I will go ahead, and what I'll do is I'll delete some tweets that I felt were, you know, not cool or whatever. So
hey, dude, listen, leave them. Don't delete them. It's totally cool. But I would say this: we're cool, but we're cool here. We're cool.
Yeah. No, ideologically,
I know I'm just saying we are agreeing to disagree on this, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, make sure.
No, I completely get that, and in the spirit of friendship and good debate, I will right now. Boom! I'm deleting this tweet.
Don't delete them. Leave them.
No, it's cool, man. Do you want me to delete the tweet about the Beatles reunion and Halley's Comet?
Listen, I just don't want you to tweet me at 2 o'clock in the morning, because sometimes I wake up and I roll over and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with HA? I said I'd debate him.
You can hear tweets when you're sleeping?
No, I mean, I just wake up in the middle of the night. I don't sleep consistently.
Okay.
I rolled over at 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, this dude is crazy. Just don't, I mean, yeah, you don't have to delete anything, man. But, you know, I will say this. You are an effective troll. You trolled the hell out of me last night, and you got me on a debate within 24 hours of that. So I think in that regards, you actually one-upped me, because I said, fuck it, let's get this done today.
Well, you know, but Ben, I'll tell you something right now. I'll tell you something that's very important, and I'm going to close it like this. You know, this is the first step towards a real discussion, and it's very important to discuss and to, I hate social media. If you know, I only use social media to share my videos and articles or whatever. Like, I hate social media. I think it's a horrible place to communicate, and I'm glad that I was able to speak to you man to man. And I think that this type of discussion, especially with sensitive topics like that, should be discussed, in this type of setting. But hey, man, I want to thank you so much for today, and just you have a great weekend.
Hey, man, you too, man. Take care.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you.